Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited.
So excited to talk to you guys. So to start, I would love to just get a little bit of a background on each of you so that the audience knows about you. And then I would love to hear your personal beauty philosophies.
Ooh, okay. My name's Sara Tan. I am journalist, host. I'm the beauty director at Refinery 29 and the other half of this Los Angeles team. And we are actually approaching our 5th birthday, which is so crazy. Wow. Yeah, so we're really excited.
I'm Kirbie Johnson. I'm an on-camera reporter, a writer, producer. And Sara and I met when I was at Pop Sugar. I was the on-camera beauty reporter for 8 years there. She was formerly at Bustle. We were always paired together at events and trips and stuff like that. And we became close friends. And we were constantly texting each other, emailing each other, DMing each other things happening in the beauty industry. And we figured, okay, we're talking about this between us. I'm sure other people would find this information useful. Why don't we bring it to, a larger platform? And so that's why we created Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we feel like, there were other beauty podcasts that existed that were, based out of New York. And we felt like we had a really unique perspective being here in LA because it is, I think the beauty capital. And we had so many connections to the hairstylists out here, makeup artists, obviously all the influencers were
Plastic
here.
surgeons, dermatologists.
Yes, the experts. And so we felt like, we had something to offer in terms of, even just talking about what was going on behind the scenes at these events. And then also bringing these people on, to talk about what they do, to do the debunking, especially living in these times of social media when there's so much misinformation, and also just talk about the fun stuff too. So it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like we are kind of one of the beauty capitals, right? But I feel like for as many amazing experts that are out there, especially here, there are just really good marketers. Have you guys noticed that?
That's, I think, the basis of the show. Like every Tuesday, we're like, what's the next marketing buzzword that we're being sold? And to your point, yes, I think it's the capital in the US because people are willing to maybe experiment more here, try things that are new to the market here in the US, specifically in LA. Like they're willing to try it here more so maybe than other places. But I know amazing dermatologists and surgeons in Dallas, Texas, for instance. And I know a lot of women are like, who would you recommend in Texas for a facelift or for a blepharoplasty? A lot of people, I'm starting to notice this trend of people leaving New York and LA and going to Dallas actually to get their professional work done. Because it's kind of there's no paparazzi, you wouldn't expect them to be there.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Really fascinating.
And to your point about marketers, I feel like that's Kirbie, that's our job, we have the experts on the podcast and we're really particular about who we have on. These people need to be truly an expert in their field, doctors, the derms, they have to have had the training. And with makeup artists, they actually have the experience and things like that. We also have something that Kirbie coined the term called Dodo Ho. And it's when you're shopping for a beauty product, do you know what it does? And the second one is, do you know who recommended it and where it comes from? Because we get so many messages from people about, I saw this person on TikTok talk about this. And we're like, who is that person?
Or I saw this Instagram ad. It's everywhere. It's being fed to me every day. Have you tried it? And half the time, what's scary is I felt like at one point, Sara and I would be the people that knew about a lot of brands before they even launched. But now, because you can make a beauty brand at the drop of a dime, there are so many of them now.
Yeah.
So people are like, what do you think about this? I'm like, oh, that's an MLM. That's actually not even a real brand. They're using fake marketing to sell you that there's one that's always sent to me and it's a face mask. And it's basically just a green algae face mask that you put on. It's clay. And then when it dries, naturally, you can see your pores a little bit more prominently. And then you rinse it off and it's gone. And they claim that you put that on and then when you wipe it off, your pores have just completely disappeared. And it's very clearly edited, but it's crazy because I do think that we, especially in the US, lack media literacy in a lot of ways. So a lot of people think that this is a real thing and it's very clearly not. So Sara and I really work hard to I mean, we've had experts on the show that initially we were like, oh yeah, they're like the thought leader in this category and they have the training. And then later on, we're like, we do not want to perpetuate something that they have said. And we've removed their episode from our library.
Wow.
Just because we don't want to keep perpetuating things that are considered misinformation.
Yeah.
Are there any brands that you'd be willing to name that people might not realize is like an MLM?
Okay.
What was an MLM?
Beauty Counter.
I was going to say that.
Beauty Counter is an MLM. And I think that it's really, that's a really interesting case of an MLM because if you don't know what MLM is, it's a multi-level marketing company firm. And often their whole business model is getting people to buy their product and sell it for them. And I mean, like LuLaRoe is a very prominent example in the fashion industry. And there's like a whole documentary. A whole documentary about like the downfall of that. And like Mary Kay is an MLM. But I think one thing that's really interesting about Mary Kay is Sara and I like Mary Kay products. We like a lot of them. And they're an MLM that has continued to endure for like decades. Like they are still around. And so I think there's something interesting about studying that particular model.
And I feel like more often than not, we hear stories of these women who were able to run their own businesses, work from home, have their families. And so I feel like, and also the products are great. Like they have a lot of really...
Oh my God, their eye makeup remover.
Their eye makeup remover is the best.
It's the best.
It's oil-free.
Yeah.
Doesn't irritate. It's amazing.
It's not like a bi-phase one that has like the oil and the water, but it's so good.
Yeah.
But Beauty Counter is interesting because they were sold in Sephora at one point. And so consumers going in are like, this is like the upper echelon of beauty shopping going into a Sephora. I know that they're going to serve me something that is great or unique. And what they don't realize is that like, I don't even understand the business model behind that because then they are directly taking away sales from their beauty advocates, as they call them, the women that are supposed to be making a living by selling these products.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird. Lip Sense is an MLM.
I don't know that one.
Lip Sense is, so what's fascinating about Lip Sense is that I got dragged like many years ago on the internet because I tried Lip Sense. The person that I bought it from, one of their sellers, didn't provide me with like this top coat you're supposed to put on. So when I put it on, I was like, it's sticky. It doesn't last that long. And they're like, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, well, don't blame me. Blame whoever sent it to me because like they're supposed to provide me with the whole kit or whatever. But they're an MLM. And don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that was the brand that Lady Gaga used at the Super Bowl. They said it was Marc Jacobs, but it was not. It was definitely Lips. And actually, no, Lady Gaga said so in an Allure article.
Wow.
So when the Super Bowl happened, it was like Marc Jacobs, whatever. Rest in peace, Marc Jacobs Beauty. I want it back so bad. I can't wait till it comes back. But then when Gaga relaunched House Labs in her Allure interview, she said that they use this thing called Lip Sense. And then since then, they have launched a very similar product called like Atomic Shake. Yeah. And it's like a lipstick it's vinyl looking and it will not leave your lips.
That's House Labs or Lip Sense has?
That's House Labs.
Yeah. And the Lip Sense was like their whole thing. It was like this long lasting lipstick that like did not budge. And we were like, how's that possible? Like there's like so much alcohol in it or something like that. But people like...
It was like a chemical peel for your lips because it had so much alcohol in it.
But
people kept it on.
Were obsessed. Obviously, they were like attacking Kirbie. But yes, so now like there are many brands. Urban Decay has one as well.
Has a version.
Yeah.
So
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, if you want a lipstick that's not going to budge, like that's it.
And that has
looks shiny.
Yes, that has a shiny finish.
It's not matte. Yeah. Crazy.
Interesting. Good to know. Okay, I want to go back a little bit to the plastic surgeon conversation.
Totally.
Because a lot of people ask me, like, what are the procedures that people are doing right now that we don't know about? What are the undetectable procedures? I mean, I've done a bunch of things myself. Everybody knows. So I talk about the ones that I've done. And I think some of the ones I've done are the ones that other people are doing, like a blepharoplasty. I feel like that's so common.
Totally.
And it can be attributed to like a Botox brow lift. So like, you know, you can kind of fly under the radar a little bit if you don't know what you're looking for. But what else is happening right now in that world that we might not know about?
I mean, blephs right now, I think are the buzzword. Like blepharoplasties, everybody is getting their eyes done. I feel like we know so many people that are like, oh, I went and got a bleph last week.
Yeah. It's like the recovery is like, there's like no downtime. You
can do it awake, right?
Yeah.
I know estheticians, I know makeup artists that have gotten blephs done. So I feel like that's kind of like because it's not, I mean, obviously it's a surgery, but it's not a super invasive like a lateral brow lift. I think a lot of people are looking into that to kind of refresh their eye area. Because I think also we're in this world where like fillers and neuromodulators are a part of people's beauty routines at this point. And so once the Botox stops working around certain areas around their eyes, they're like, what's next? Like what else can be done? And that's like a relatively affordable one because it has like very little downtime. It doesn't take a lot of time either. I do think a lot of people are getting lower facelifts. And I hesitate to say lower facelifts or even a mini facelift because every plastic surgeon I've ever talked to is like, it's a facelift.
It's a facelift. It's a facelift. It's a facelift.
Yeah.
It's just whether they go down the neck or,
And there's obviously different types of, there's like deep plane. There's like ones that the vertical restorer, which was coined by Dr. Karam, who I'm obsessed with.
We got to see one. Like,
I watched a facelift.
In real life.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Did it make you not ever want to have one or were you okay?
No, I feel like
I wouldn't want to see the sausage.
I thought I was going to be like wanting to vomit. But the crazy thing is like the patient is awake. They're not.
That is so crazy.
They're
during
not
a vertical
under.
restore.
Yeah, so they're not put completely under. Dr. Karam, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They're not. There's general and local anesthesia. Yeah. What's the difference? Local anesthesia, general anesthesia, I think is like all over. Like you're out.
Yes. Yeah. Local is more like the laughing gas, right? Like
local is like numbing.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
But you're awake, and then there's like in the middle is twilight sedation.
Oh. So you know more than.
You know way more than us in this field.
I've done it a few times.
Whatever they use, the patient is still cognizant. They've been like put under anesthesia. They have some type of like anti-anxiety pill. I think they're prescribed. But when Dr. Karam is working on them, they're like, he can be like, turn your face to the left and they will move.
No.
Yep.
I'm out. Just put me under.
But it's apparently,
right. No, same.
For him, it's more, he says that it's safer because there's just so much that can go wrong when you're put completely under.
Right.
Especially with some of these patients that are like, you know, they are maybe a little bit in like their 50s, 60s. Like you don't know. Obviously, you're doing the health screenings. But he's always said like that's how he's operated. But
wow.
Even like Dr. Diamond, like Dr. Karam, Dr. Doft in New York. Like I interview a lot of these people. I did a huge piece for Allure on facelifts and like the rise of almost like the millennial facelift where everyone's like, I'm 38. Do I need a facelift? And it's so crazy because I like went and got consultations with like these incredible Dr. Kat Chang here in Beverly Hills, Dr. Sarmela Sunder. And Dr. Chang and Dr. Sunder said I qualified for a facelift. And I was like, oh my God, okay. But then I talked to Dr. Karam and he's like, come to me in 5 years. And I'm like, but you know me. So maybe you're just trying to like lessen the blow. But we are in this like really weird state of where TikTok has democratized all of these surgeries, all of these fillers, all of these everything. So people are like, okay, well, this isn't working now. Let's get a facelift. And fillers have been demonized to the point because people have started to look crazy with fillers because they're going to injectors that aren't as trained and they're filling up people's faces. And then they're like, okay, well, no more filler. Filler's bad. The only next option is a facelift. And I'm like, that's not really.
There are a few steps.
That you could take in between that. Like, don't book your facelift appointment just yet. You know?
I feel like we also have been seeing a lot of nose jobs. Like all of a sudden they're back.
Like I love a rhinoplasty.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure like it's even better than, ever before. I feel like, like all of a sudden we're like at a dinner or something and we're like, that person looks different. Like, what did they do?
I want to write a book called It's All Rhinoplasties and that's the truth. Because like if you notice somebody looks really, really good and you can't put your finger on it, chances are they had a rhinoplasty. They like shaved down their bridge a little bit. And I don't blame anybody that's in the spotlight constantly being photographed for getting one because the angles, like you can't control an angle. And so when a light is a certain way and your position a certain way, you might be like, oh my God, I look crazy in all of these photos. So a lot of these people are getting very, very subtle rhinoplasties. So they're not really changing the shape of their nose. They're just maybe slimming it down. And I've noticed a lot of like older celebrities are, as you get older, your nose grows. So they're like just getting basically back to like what their normal nose size used to be, which is like so fascinating.
It's like refining.
Like
totally.
Exactly. Tweaking.
I also feel like this isn't plastic surgery, but something that I feel like people don't really, or they notice, but they're like, they can't put their finger on it are like the veneers, especially if you like go to like a Dr. Appa and you get, a smile rejuvenation that's like really good, but very subtle. But I feel like
shout out Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Taylor has amazing
She just
veneers.
did something this year.
I watched a whole story from a cosmetic dentist. And I didn't even, I mean, I always knew she had veneers because when you look at older video or photos or videos of her, like she has like her canines are like really, really high up. So like she had to do something. And then for a while she had veneers, but they were just covering the teeth, like the placement. And whoever she's going to now nailed it.
Yeah.
I wonder who it is.
I'm like Dr. Appa.
Yeah, probably Appa.
Maybe it's someone that got paid a lot of money to like literally like not mention her, period.
Yeah.
Good for Taylor. A lot of people actually messaged me about Taylor and they're like, she has such subtle Botox. And I'm like, can you tell?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I can't tell. Like, I'm not looking here going, she's not moving her forehead or like, she looks really smooth. I'm just like, she's 34 years old.
Yeah.
So like, maybe she is getting stuff, but like, I don't know. Sometimes I think this is another great point. I think sometimes people are so eager to figure out why somebody looks good that then they start perpetuating like all of these false equivalencies of what they actually had done versus like maybe they just got older. Like you can very well lose fat in your eyelids and it can look like a bleph.
Yeah.
Because you're aging. Like you naturally lose fat in these different areas.
Or the shape of like your face.
Oh my God, yes.
You know, like we all lose our baby fat and everyone's like, oh my gosh, they got buccal fat removal. And I'm like, no, I think they either just lost weight or they, you know, just get older.
And some of these celebrities too, like women in their 50s and 60s, I see plastic surgeons every day on TikTok saying like, oh, this is where her facelift went wrong, or like, this is what I would have done. And I'm like, and they'll do a comparison of like her, like literally in her 20s versus now. And I'm like, she got older. Yeah. She aged. And the fact that you are saying that she looks worse and that this has to be bad plastic surgery just because she aged, I think is so problematic. Like, allow women to age.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. We are allowed to have nasolabial folds that like are not completely smooth, and we're allowed to like get Botox if we want. But like, I don't know. I get really, really frustrated with because everything is content. Everything is views. Everything's engagement. So I really, anybody listening to this, like I hope that what you will do is think critically about like what the person talking about this is benefiting from by talking about it.
I know. Isn't it crazy that people have like created like a living picking people's faces apart? Like those accounts just exist. I kind of hate them.
Yeah. It kind of, I actually appreciate some of them in an aspect, but
if there is like an expert like coming, approaching it from like a place of like, I want to educate you.
Like,
you know?
This woman looks incredible, but like you don't go from this to this. Like some of these women's eye shapes have completely changed, and I think that it is helpful to be like, you can't just randomly get this look. Like this is not from a Botox brow lift. Like this is,
but if it's just something a tear down, like I just think like, wow, what is the point?
Yeah,
I think that these celebrities are in an impossible position.
Agreed.
Because of the scrutiny that they're under, because of accounts like that. Because if they choose to age without doing any interventions, there are a few people that I can think of that do that, like Andie MacDowell. I always use this example. She gets torn apart in comments, but then if somebody does little tweaks or enhancements, they get torn apart. And it's just like, you can't win. And to what you were saying earlier about everything being attributed to work, even I've been on the receiving end of that because I was really open about procedures I've done. I haven't done anything in a couple years. In fact, I stopped doing everything. Yeah. And people are like, what did you do to your face? Oh my God, you overfilled your face. Oh, what's wrong with this and that? And some things are just how I've always looked.
Right.
Like I have this little like dimple and pooch here. I've had it my entire life. And people are like, oh my God, you have 7 vials of filler in your face. Like all of these things. And I'm like, no, it's just like changing. Like our faces do change. And I think that people are so quick to jump to procedures because we're in this time where like people just want to feel superior for like that millisecond or whatever. And maybe calling somebody out and assuming that whatever celebrity, you know, has had some kind of procedure done, they feel a little bit better about themselves for that second because it's not quote unquote natural or something like that. I don't know.
And I also understand like wanting transparency because like, I mean, the most, I think, popular example would be like Kylie lying about her lips and like claiming it was lip liner. Like everybody knew it wasn't lip liner. And I think
Hailey and Bella Hadid, where it's like, okay.
No, Bella, like, and even Bella coming out and like talking about her nose, like after the fact and saying like, I wish I would have like kept my original nose, like I thought was really interesting. But then I was talking to a cosmetic dermatologist about this, about like, why aren't celebrities just upfront about this stuff? And she was like, because it's like you're damned if you do, you damned if you don't. And so the example she used was Jane Fonda. Like Jane Fonda has talked about getting 2 facelifts throughout her career. And then she goes on like a national morning show to promote a movie that she's proud of. And Megyn Kelly, the first thing she wants to talk about is her facelift. And she's like, are we this was years ago. Like, are we really still talking about this? Yeah. So I get it, because it's like, you don't want to keep rehashing something that you, they're like, oh, she was comfortable talking about it then. She probably wants, we can ask her about it again now. And it's like, that's not something I want to relive. So I see both sides of the coin.
I just talked about it on my last Patreon episode where I used that example because I did a whole beauty deep dive episode, and I went through that too, where like I was so open about my procedures and I was happy to share. And then it was kind of like used against me. And then all anybody wants to talk about is surgery. And I turned into like the plastic surgery girl. Like anytime I was booked on other shows, they want to talk about plastic surgery, celebrity surgery. And I'm like, that's such a tiny fraction of my life. And I think Jane Fonda said that she stopped talking about it because she turned into the plastic surgery woman. And like, there's so much more to her and her life than that. And you really get boxed in when you talk about it. And to your point, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Totally.
When I talked about like the fact that I had Botox, I would do my skincare routines like in the last few years, and everyone would say like, oh, your face is frozen from Botox. And I was like, yeah, I get Botox. Now I'm like, I can't get Botox anymore. And they're like, but you used to get Botox. So that's why you, and I'm like, oh my God, like you just can't.
And also like, by the way, why isn't anyone grilling the men about this?
Yeah.
It's literally, they are...
Men are getting facelifts.
They are getting facelifts.
Men are getting facelifts.
Facelifts, Botox, all the things. And no one ever asks them about it.
They're getting spray tans. They're getting facelifts. They're getting blepharoplasties. I mean, like,
just
it is crazy.
Much.
Yeah,
I see comments on like a picture of Brad Pitt where somebody will say like, maybe I should just get out of the comments, but somebody will say, oh, he had a great facelift. And all these women defending him. No, he just lost weight, blah, blah, blah. They're so quick to defend the men and tear the other women down. It's like such a double standard. It's crazy.
Like you said, there's so much scrutiny on these people. And if they want to continue to have a career, and especially if your whole career has been tied to your looks, even though you do have talent. I feel like getting older is so hard. Like it is something that is not discussed a lot, and not like that it should be, but if more people talked about the feelings that come with aging, I think they'd be a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more kind to people that do choose to like do neuromodulators or fillers or any type of cosmetic surgery to help them look younger, because I'm really over these like 20-year-olds being like, let's accept aging. Like we need to, and I'm like, I really appreciate you fighting that fight. But then like I get on TikTok and it is a split between, if somebody doesn't like what I have to say, they're like, okay, like geriatric, like you look old, or, oh my God, you like, how old are you? You look so young for your age, or whatever it is. And it's like, that's not the compliment that I think you're giving. And why does everything have to be tied to like how I look? Like you don't want to listen to me because I don't look good. Or you do want to listen to me because I do look good, or I do look young, or whatever it is. And I just see a lot of like young people being like, we need to start accepting like, you know, women of older ages in beauty marketing. And I'm like, yeah, we do. But nobody walks the talk in that aspect. I mean, like if you walk into a Sephora and you want to see age diversity, it's literally like teenage girls, people in their early 20s, and then anybody that's older has gray hair, like in the marketing.
Oh my God.
And it's like,
that's so true.
Literally,
fashion too.
I can't remember what publication it was, but they posted something on Instagram and it was like, I can't even remember what it was, but it was like something about a woman being in her 50s, and the stock image model that they used was clearly a woman who was over 50. And they were like, bless this poor intern who had to pull this image because they didn't know what a 50-year-old woman looked like. And I'm like, my older sisters are both in their 50s, and I'm like, they look like they look so young, or like they look their age. They don't look like that, you know, this woman in the stock image, and it's just ridiculous. But to your point about like, you know, them not walking the talk or whatever, like they are all talking about like aging like milk or whatever, and like having these like insane skincare routines at like age 15, 16, 17. And I'm like, what is it going to look like when they're our age?
It's like that meme of Sex in the City and Golden Girls. It's like they were the same age.
Yes. Oh
and maybe there's something with women aging differently from like the 90s to now. Obviously, like, I mean,
you see the J-Lo and the Golden
Jennifer
Girls.
Jennifer Aniston and J-Lo and like these women in their 50s. And I'm like, I want to look like them. Like Kate Hudson, I think, is 48. I'm like, I want to look like her.
She looks good.
Like everybody looks
Demi Moore, I think she looks amazing right now.
Like these women look great, and whether they had some help or not, I think that it's like they're not like being sent off to pasture. You know what I mean? Like they have a lot of life to live, and I wish that more people would understand that. But then I also want this like these mostly 20-year-olds to be like, I'm just like, pipe down on that. Like, you don't understand how crazy it is when somebody starts calling you ma'am out of nowhere, and you're like,
worst.
What in the world? Like, I'm not a ma'am. I'm not even married. I don't have children. I'm not
just
married.
Like looking in the mirror and like noticing that your face is changing.
Right. Like one day you will literally look in the mirror and go, oh, who is this person?
Yeah.
Like, this does not feel like normal Kirbie. I feel a certain way. My mom says this all the time. My mom's like, I'm 65 years old. I feel 35 years old, but I look 65 years old. And it like made me cry when she talked to me about this, because she's like, I'm treated differently when I go in places.
Yeah.
And it really is like, especially for women, it really is like sad to like see how society.
You become invisible.
Yes.
Totally.
And then the people attacking us are women. Which is like,
I know.
I'm like, I don't understand.
Make it stop.
I know.
Make it stop.
I know.
And honestly, if a man says anything, I'm like, you're dumb.
Yeah.
I literally don't even care.
Block.
I'm like, block. But if a woman does, I'm like,
you're supposed to be on my team.
Yeah, what's happening here?
Yeah. I hear that a lot from older people as well. Even my ex, who's a man, older man, he would say the same thing. He was like, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. And then I see my reflection and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's kind of a mind fuck for everybody, but definitely I think harder than women because of those things. You know, we're kind of discarded at 40. We're invisible. Like, I think a man at like 50 is like peak hotness, like certain men.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I feel like for women, like we have to like do all these things, like where it's just, again, that double standard.
Which is why I've been loving like The Idea of You. I watched it this weekend. And then this new movie with Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron. I'm like, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Nicole, I know
women.
Nicole is happily married, but I feel like she could totally get it with Zac Efron because they've been in movies together.
Right.
And I'm like, they clearly have chemistry.
Yeah.
Like, let's see more of that. No, the trailer for this movie that's coming out on Netflix with Nicole and Zac and Joey King, I was watching it and I was grinning like an idiot. And I'm like, I can't wait to watch this movie. Just seeing like this older established woman with this like hot little whippersnapper.
That's how I felt watching The Idea of You with Anne Hathaway. And
God.
Yeah, but everyone was complaining about that. Oh, she's grooming him. I'm like, oh my God. He's supposed to be what, like 20s?
Be for real.
He was like 24
early
and
20s, and she's like 39 or 40.
39, yeah.
The only unrealistic thing about that movie was that the boy band was playing at Coachella.
Headlining.
I was like, there's no way. That's not ever happening.
But again,
like,
flip the roles and no one says anything.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. So yes, more of these movies.
Okay, let's talk obsessions.
Ooh, okay.
Let's do skincare first. If you could only pick like 3 products. I know.
Okay. Okay. Because it's top of mind right now, it's my moisturizer that I have been obsessing over for like 3 months at this point. I use it morning and evening in Beauty Project's Extreme Cream. It is a reverse emulsion, so it feels a lot like the Augustinus Bader moisturizer.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah. Well, is it
Augustinus Bader?
Augustina Spader.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I've been saying it. No, that sounds legit. I'm going to do that.
But a lot of people think it's a dupe for that Augustinus Bader product because it feels very similar, but their before and afters, it's like a lifting and firming cream. And I have noticed just like with the texture of my skin since using it day and night for like the past 3 months, how much it's improved and how unproblematic like my skin has been. So I've been very, very happy with that. We just had the founders on Los Angeles to talk about it. They're like longtime beauty
veterans.
Like one's been in marketing forever and one has been a cosmetic formulator. She was at Tatcha for a very long time. Where else? Like Tula.
I'm everywhere.
Places.
Yeah.
So she's made some of like the most elegant, best products out there, and they just continue to knock it out of the park. So I think that moisturizer for me.
And I love them too because they are like in their late 30s, early 40s. And they're like, we want to make products that actually work, that, you know, the price tag isn't insane. And
it's $48.
Yeah, $48.
So it's not super expensive.
And again, like, you know, Kirbie and I are so big on like clinicals results. And so they have all of that, you know? So that's like, I feel we had the opportunity to have our listeners test the product as well. And everyone was so excited, but it's just like such a great product. I love that.
Okay. What's yours?
Okay. I absolutely love You Beauty. Tina Chen Craig.
She's coming on next.
We love Tina.
Wow. She's just got like the body hydrator, it's super hydrator, and the arm lift and the body. I haven't used the face stuff yet.
Oh my gosh.
But the body stuff. And then like 2 days, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no,
it's night and day.
I think we'll absolutely love the skincare products.
The resurfacing.
But for me, the resurfacing compound, it's literally like just changed the texture of my skin. And I feel like it has a little bit of retinol in it. It has some vitamin C in it. And you would think that maybe it would be too much, but she herself, I think, has like sensitive skin as well. And I started using it after I had my second baby. Like I couldn't, you know, I was off of retinol for a while. So I was really scared because I have some redness. And like my skin, as I've gotten older, has gotten a lot more sensitive. But this is truly like I notice when I stop using it. Like I cannot get enough of it. All of the other products in her line too as well are just so good. And like you can use it if you're, you know, again, in your late 30s, 40s, but you can also use it, you know, if you're in your 20s. It's an investment. It's expensive, but I would say it's extremely worth it.
It has this technology in it where it goes where it's needed, right?
Yes.
So she says like you put retinol on your face, you don't really need it in certain areas.
Right.
So this like really targets those areas that
And again, we talked about this again, but like she is, I think she's in her 50s, but she like wanted to create a product that she would use that was for her, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Products.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
I think Shani Darden makes incredibly elegant, amazing products. Her retinol reform really was the first product that I learned about retinol through, like many years ago when she had her studio in the back of her house. And I'm so glad more people are getting to try it. Includes the retinol and the lactic acid, which is really great. But since she's expanded her portfolio, I mean, her moisturizer is so good. Her eye cream, I think, is my absolute favorite. It works beautifully under makeup. And then she just launched this like plumping hydrator serum.
I love it.
Oh my God. And I'm usually, I'm like,
you're like hyaluronic acid, whatever.
Who cares? But then I was like, what did you put in this? This is literally insane. So when people are like, I want like an elevated skincare routine that I can get at Sephora and like is in this price range. I'm like, check out Shani. I'm such a huge fan of hers. And we love her. Like she's just no bullshit at all. So she is, anytime I see her, she gets in there. Like her facials are like lovely, but like she's just in there like getting she's like extraction. Okay, melasma, blah, blah. Like she just gets in there and like does the thing. And that's why we love her.
Totally. Yeah. I was going to say, if your listeners are in Los Angeles and like want to book themselves like a really good facial, like definitely check out her clinic. It's probably not going to be with Shani, but everyone who works on her team is like so lovely. And have you been?
No.
Oh my gosh. It's just
I know.
So beautiful. Like immediately when you walk in, you're like, like just like shoulders drop. It's like such a beautiful space, and they will take care of you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What about makeup? What's one ride or die product? Like holy grail.
Mine is going to be Charlotte Tilbury, like till the day I die. I love her. Pillow Talk, just an iconic product and line. And I love the lip cheat. They just launched this thing called Plumpgasm. It's this plumping lip gloss that has this like cooling effect to it. It makes your lips look really big and juicy. The Hollywood glow filter that she created, I mean, often imitated, never duplicated. I know some people think that that was just like a trend on TikTok, but when I use that product, I'm like, there's a reason why this is so great. And then I love her little eyeshadow quads. I love everything.
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but like when you wear her makeup, you feel really beautiful. Like it's such a beautiful experience. Everything is so pretty, you know, and it's like you feel like one of her like models that she works on, you know what I mean? It's just like such a, it's, I feel like people buy it for themselves to feel good, and it really shows like when they wear it. I just love it. What do I like? Beauty. Oh, I was just talking about, so Fenty just came out with this new hydrating version of their foundation. What is it called? The Hydrating Pro Filter? Is that what it's called?
That's a
different one. Yeah. Anyways, I have like drier skin.
Oh, soft lip.
Soft lip. That's what it is. And their original one was just a little bit too dry for me. But this one I have been wearing constantly. And it's like a really like skin-like finish. If you have like a little bit of drier skin, it's still going to feel really good. And I mean, you can't go wrong with Rihanna. Like everything she makes too. Like lip glosses, the blush. I want to say, I love Rare Beauty. I think like Selena Gomez is killing it. But when she launched those new blushes that were like,
they're like highlighter
blushes. I was like, Rihanna did this like 4 years ago. Do you remember when she made those?
Yes.
And I was just like, oh, I mean, Selena, the product is really, really, both of them are really, really good. But Fenty Beauty just like kills it. But I have to shout out Rare Beauty too, because I feel like everything that they've been launching lately has just been killing it as well.
Yeah. I know those are two really popular brands. So I do want to shout out Number 7. It's like a drugstore brand. They make this amazing foundation. It's like $15 to $17 depending on where you're at. But I remember I tried it because I got sent it after I did this like press day with their ambassador, Adam Burrell. He's like this really amazing celebrity makeup artist. And I remember after he put on the foundation, I was like, my skin looks really good. But then I didn't think about it. Then I opened up the box several months later. I'm like, I'll try this out and see. I've become obsessed with this. Like I use it every single day. It's like the lifting and firming foundation. Ooh. It's a serum. It's like a skin serum. And normally I don't like skin serums. I like a little bit of like more coverage. I don't like it to be oily. But this, if you're in the market for a new foundation, like go to Walgreens, go wherever and grab it. You will not be disappointed. And then Swede Beauty. I feel like Swede Beauty is about to blow up here in the US. It just started, I can't remember what retailers it's in, maybe Revolve. But the founder, Gabriella, is amazing. They make lashes. They make incredible mascara. They make these lip crayons, this beautiful blush that like blurs the skin as well. Every single thing that I've tried from them, I've been obsessed. And I just like their brand philosophy overall. It's just like you, but better, essentially. Yeah. And they're making a big splash in the US. So I feel like people will hear more about them soon.
And then one last one that Kirbie and I are both big fans of is Danessa Myricks Beauty.
Oh, we love her.
Have you ever used?
No.
Okay. Well, she's like iconic. Like you need to follow her immediately. But the products are just so, so good. She makes this product called the Groundwork Palette. And it's basically like the only thing you ever need in your makeup bag to contour. You can use it as eyeshadow. She also now makes it in another version, like the Blooming like Garden one. It's like more pinky hues. You could have those too and like be set. Also, all of her like coverage products are really incredible. They're all really innovative. Yummy skin. It's just like chef's kiss.
So good.
Yeah, it's like, the shade ranges are so good. The innovation behind like the formulation is just brilliant. And she is just like such a joy. And like just follow her, watch her tutorials to like learn how she uses her products. And I swear, like you will be obsessed.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Last question. We can do rapid fire. Okay. What is one thing after everything that you've learned in over 400 episodes, right?
Yeah.
One thing you would never do again?
Cool sculpting.
Agree. People are going to be like, why? Just a weak cliffhanger.
What would I never do again? Okay, honestly, like, oh no. Okay, I'm just going to say it because I do feel like every time I do it, I don't know that I'll get my brows laminated again.
Interesting. Okay. Just quick little elaboration.
Oh, okay.
I've noticed that since I've gotten cool sculpting, like in my stomach area and under my chin, because I wasn't able to get more than one treatment, which you need, I think, at least 2 or 3. I have this excess. Either we don't know if it's fat or skin. And so I will have to lose weight to determine that. And then I'll probably have to have a cosmetic procedure to get rid of it.
Okay.
And I just don't think it's like if you really want to lose that stuff, look into lipo.
Yeah.
And you're not the only
I've
one
heard that
has had this
time and time again.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah. With the brow lamination, I just feel, we were talking about this before the episode, but I'm like, I don't really know that like I should be putting this chemical on my eyebrow for a really long time, like close to my eye. And also I will say, I feel like after it's gone, it has changed like the texture of my brow hairs.
Yeah, a lot of people say that it makes them brittle, they fall out.
Yeah, exactly. So I always love how it makes my brows look, but I do feel like there are so many incredible brow waxes now that you can, it can help achieve that look without, having to
I always talk about
brows.
the Grande one. That's like the brow lamination.
Wow.
It's just a little spoolie with like a pot, and it's like, it looks the exact Same.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But here I am having gotten my brow lamination yesterday.
No
and my lash
judgment.
lift. So everyone on YouTube, if you're like, what is wrong with her eyes? That's why I'm not having an allergic
judgment
reaction.
whatsoever.
Well, like I was saying to you before, I pick my poison.
Right.
You know, before a trip, it's like I want to wake up and look like I have mascara.
Right. And honestly, check in with me in like 2 months. I probably will have my brows laminated.
I feel like for an occasion or sometimes it's like they look so good like right after.
Your brows do look great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. That was so fun. Tell everybody where they can find you and listen to Gloss Angeles.
We are Gloss Angeles Pod on all socials. Find us. We have a lot of fun things going on. I'm at Kirbie Johnson. It's Kirbie with an IE at the end.
And I'm Sara Tan, Saratan.
Thank you.
Thank you.